Hey everyone, welcome back to the Moment Live. It's your old pal, Meredith Lynch. Rebecca is on vacation this week. She will be back on Friday. But in the meantime, what a treat I have for you. Lysandra Vasquez is a Puerto Rican, Atlanta based comedian who is known for her political satire and sketches on social media. She has 2 million followers across her platforms, and she's also currently on tour with her stand up and coming to LA next week for a show.
I will be.
Plug.
Yeah, I'm in California next week, and I'm in Texas tomorrow, and I'm in Plano and Houston this week. So I go to Texas tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
I'm
And
out here.
your show in LA is at The Crow,
The Crow, yeah,
which friend of the show. A friend of The Crow is
friend
a
of the
friend of the
show, friend
show.
of the Crow.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What day is your Los Angeles show?
It's the 3rd of September.
Love it.
I'm
Okay.
excited.
We will plug that in the show notes and we'll plug all of the other things you have going on. But in the meantime, there's so many things that you and I need to talk about today. So let's do a quick rundown. Here's what's on the agenda for this morning. First of all, hot topics. Inez Cantor Freedom was ejected from a WNBA game, and there are so many layers to this story. And we haven't talked a lot about the WNBA on the show in a while, and I'm really excited to get your take on it. Are you a fan?
I so many sports. I love sports. I love women when they do anything. So I'm a fan of women in sports, but I don't watch sports.
Oh, okay.
But
That's
I'm
okay.
aware of this incident. I'm aware of
No,
this.
we're going to walk through this
Yeah.
incident. I feel like
Okay.
I need your take. Okay. Hayden Panettiere, we have not done the show since her tragic passing. So there's some new information that's come out. We're going to talk about that. Her mom has been making some statements and then making more statements. They're very weird. And then we want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Gary, Indiana. They have been without power for 2 weeks. And also, our friends in Memphis are also dealing with some pretty serious power outages as well. I think their power is getting restored a little bit quicker. But I want to talk a little bit about sort of what's happening there, why we think these are these places that are red states that Trump has been neglecting, and now here we are. And then after that, South Carolina Senate race contender, Dr. Annie Andrews, will be joining us. It's also the runoff election today for the Republican candidates in South Carolina. So we're excited to have Dr. Andrews with us today. But anyway, let's get into it. So first off, let's just talk about this WNBA thing. If you didn't see this yet, ex-NBA player Inez Cantor Freedom was ejected from a Sunday night WNBA game after getting into a confrontation with Chicago Sky guard Natasha Cloud. Freedom was wearing a shirt that said women, adult, human, female, and this was in order to make a statement regarding trans women in the sport. The Sky were playing the Indiana Fever, which Sophie Cunningham is on the Fever. She has been a very big outspoken critic of trans women in sports. Before the game, Inez Cantor Freedom attended a small rally in honor of Sophie Cunningham. Currently, there are no trans women playing in the WNBA. So, first of all, did you see this?
Yeah, I saw this. It's they think that this is like peak man. It's so weak. Like, why? This is what you're doing with your time, bruh? It's crazy.
Well, and here's the thing that I find to be really crazy about this. So, his whole thing is I don't know if you saw the tweets that he put out afterwards, but basically, he put up these tweets, and I think we have some photos of them.
Please.
And he's in a word pissed. But basically, he's saying, like, well, I was just there to support women. And I think this is like this very interesting rhetoric that has come around that's like, oh, I'm against trans women in sports because I'm so pro women. And I just am like, where did this come from? This is not even an issue. Like, there are no trans women that are playing in the WNBA. So, like, how is this? Why is this something that you are taking up as your sort of like issue to march on?
I find that sometimes I think like this discourse comes up a lot when it is a non-issue to make it an issue, to
Right.
get people that are transphobic to feel permission to be able to be transphobic. When like really it's not a problem. Trans women are women.
Right.
Period. And also, there's no trans women in the WNBA. So you're creating this just as an opportunity to be able to be transphobic publicly and loudly and to have a little chorus of deplorables join you. It's disgusting.
Did you know that he has declared that he will be participating in the WNBA draft in 2027?
Mm. And I think it's like the people that are claiming that they can go, like that guy that went with a hijab to try to go commit voter fraud.
I didn't even see
They,
that.
oh, Sam Good Trouble did a video on it where he's
Mhm.
like he had this guy went and did tried to go and like register for voting in person with a
Mhm.
hijab on claiming to be a woman, but it's like he didn't go through the process because you would have to like essentially like certify in order to actually go and do same day voting without an ID. You have to like certify for like
Yeah,
and
you
perjure
can't just like
yourself.
show up. That's the thing. Like, you
Right.
can't just show up and be like, I'm voting. That's like how the Republicans try to
And
make you think about
and
it.
he didn't go through with signing the form because he would be perjuring himself. So he didn't do it. So but he's like, and see, you can just do this. He's like, no, babes, you can't.
Right.
You didn't do it. And like this the same thing with this guy trying to put on a wig and say, I'm a woman, I can play in the WNBA. No, babe, you can't.
Right.
These people actually don't know the amount of work that the amount of
Oh, Vienna's
like
got it in the
just
yeah.
struggles that people have to go through in order to transition. Like you don't just oh yeah, this dude. Um like they think it's just like you wake up one day and you can change your gender marker. Like it isn't an excruciating thing that one has to go through, and it's so I hate people.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that I have been thinking about is if you are such a supporter of women
Mhm.
and you really want to focus on the WNBA specifically, well, let's talk about some of the things that are unfair about the WNBA because there are things. So, first of all, Angel Reese initially, when she first joined the league, was making $75,000 for the season. Okay. Meanwhile, LeBron James made $52 million last
Mhm.
season. Okay. And now the pay has changed in a way, the pay structure has changed in a way that these WNBA players are making more money. Now she makes about $350,000 a year, which
It's
is
great.
definitely better. But like it's also too like not enough that these women don't have to go play overseas. Another thing is that they just this year were required to provide family and nursing rooms in in the stadiums for people. Like these are the things that are just happening in the WNBA. There was also like a big issue about how they could trade you if you were pregnant, and also like how you could be in breach of contract if you signed with a team and you weren't pregnant. So we've been making some steps forward, but I guess my point is like if you're here because you're like, you know what, this league is not fair, great, let's talk
It,
about it. I don't disagree with that. Let's have the conversation. No one in the league is going, except for Sophie Cunningham, who, by the way, would love to see you in a little Sophie Cunningham situation.
I'll write it down, write it down.
Okay. I feel like a slick back, and just for no reason at all, a hatred towards trans folks.
It's crazy.
But I do think this is like, I do kind of wonder. Now, this is like tinfoil hat. And do you think that there's a chance that Freedom is being paid by some type of right wing group? Because, like, listen, he's kind of a loser. He's like an ex NBA player. Like, yes, he played in the league for a long time, but like, what is he doing with his life now? Nobody wants him on ESPN.
I think it's really possible because these like organizations push like money in a dark way like that in to do these things, but it's also quite possible that he's dumb enough to do it for the love of the game, just to be transphobic
Yeah.
and for attention. So like it's one or the other, but there's nothing in the middle. Like he's either being paid and being an opportunistic idiot tool for this machine that is trying to like scare people, make trans folks feel scary to middle America or the people who are already predisposed to being racist and whatnot, or he's just seeking attention, and this is the only way he knows how because he doesn't have anything else.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep an eye on this story. I think
Mhm.
it's ridiculous, and I can't wait to see you in full Sophie Cunningham. By the way, I just watched a documentary, very good, about the women's UConn basketball team, the
Oh,
college team, and it was very good. It was really focused on Paige Beckers, But one of the things that I noticed was when the women go and play, like they do like scrimmage games or whatever in practice, they play men and they kick their fucking asses. So it's like this whole idea that like the cheat code for being in the WNBA is to
It's
be
just being
like,
a man.
right, like I'm just going to be a mediocre man and then I'm going to roll in and then they're going to like, that's not how it works.
That's
These
not how it
women
works,
are
bruh.
kicking their asses. So anyway, on a heavier note, we haven't done the show since this happened, but the passing of Hayden Panettiere happened about a week and a half ago. And over the last few days, more details have come out about her passing. It turns out that her ex-boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, was present when she was pronounced dead. Hickerson and Panettiere had a fraught relationship. Hickerson served time for domestic violence, and they had separated for a time, and then they were back together. And I'm like, when we talk about like, hey, what are some ways we can help women? Like, hey, how about this? How about like helping helping women with domestic violence issues? But in the last couple days, Panettiere's estranged mother, Leslie Vogel, sat down with Good Morning America to discuss her passing and kind of defend these comments that she made earlier. So I want to read this quote to you. This is what Leslie Vogel had to say in like the 2 days after her daughter passed away. I think it becomes very difficult to be true to yourself. And I think Hayden sadly lost her way. And I wish it was different. And I wish she had stayed true to herself because she had many incredible attributes. I'm sorry. What? That's what your mom has to say just like a day after your passing? Like,
Oh,
someone get this woman a publicist.
yeah. You could have just not said
You could have just
anything.
said, I will, mourn the passing of my
We're
daughter
we're
for the rest of my
devastated.
life. Yeah, that's all you have to say. Her and her mother were estranged when
Mhm.
Hayden passed away, and her mom's sort of blaming it on the ex-boyfriend. I knew nothing about this ex-boyfriend
Me too.
until like the last few months when she was coming out with her memoir and things of that nature. And so I guess like what has been your take on this?
Well, it's incredibly sad.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, I think that watching the child stars that we kind of grew up with have some of them have had um, more, I would say, well adjusted experiences, and then some of them have struggled a lot more. And
Mhm.
Hayden was one of them. And I was really sad to hear of her passing, but I was hopeful that she was going to turn things be turning over a new leaf, coming out and talking about her experiences with postpartum and how difficult it was for her to give up her child, and talking about that aspect of womanhood that doesn't get talked about because so many people are ashamed of it and hide it. And so it was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing how she grows through this. And so it's really tragic that
Yeah. It's
um
interesting you bring up the postpartum piece
yeah,
because I feel like that is like has such a spotlight on it right now with the Lindsay
yeah.
Clancy case, who is a woman
Mhm,
who has said, I suffered postpartum depression, I suffered postpartum psychosis. And
mhm.
then people are like, no, you didn't. It's like, when are we just gonna like, and then
Believe
like
women
believe women? Like,
the first time.
and so I think, when we see the extreme and I'm not saying that Hayden Panettiere passed away because of postpartum depression specifically, but I think it's like part of what, can lead to postpartum depression can lead to deeper depression or depression that continues or can lead to, medication things that are not right for you. That's what we're seeing with Lindsay Clancy right now. So when I saw Hayden Panettiere pass away, my first thought was like you were saying. I was like, oh, here's someone who suffered from postpartum depression. And everyone sort of just like rolled their eyes and was like, oh, I just don't think you want to be a mother.
Yeah, I think you should like do better, want your kid.
Yeah. It's very sad, and I think we'll continue to follow this story over the next couple of days. I think she had just filmed a movie. And my biggest concern now is I'm like, keep that Leslie Vogel away from any funds, money, etc.,
Yeah,
that are entitled for Hayden's daughter, because I think that's the
correct.
next thing that we're going to see. That's why I think she's coming out and being so vocal. She's going to be like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Like, I should be in the money, etc." because her son has already passed away, which is very sad, but like, her
It's
son's
very
already passed
tragic.
away. Yeah, it's giving like, do you know what it's like giving me a tiny bit of? It's giving me a little Brittany Murphy.
Same. Mhm.
And, like, I don't know if the kids know this, but, when Brittany Murphy passed away, it was very sad, and then her mom got really weird, and there was a lot of sort of fighting over Brittany's, legacy
Assets
and
and fun.
assets, and
Yeah.
and did the mom end up passing away? It was like, and then people were saying, like, the mom was having an affair with the husband. It was very weird, you
It
guys.
was very it was all very weird, and I think that, um I hope that, it makes me it just makes me worry because when people don't have, like, a good circle around them, unfortunately, stuff like this happens.
Yeah. I think the one
It's
thing
not
that
the only
in
reason, because obviously I don't know, but we see cases of that with, like, the Brittany Murphy of it all, and, like, whenever people are just taking advantage, like, with Brittany, like, she was well, I one day we'll know what happened, but I don't know, it's mismanagement of these beautiful souls to take advantage of them and commodify them and to try to extract as much money from them. It's really tragic.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I hate to say this, but I talk about this a lot on here, and I feel like are in the industry. You lived in LA for a very long time. You guys, actors are not rich.
No.
Like, I really don't think that Hayden Panettiere passed away with like, what a lot of people probably think that she had. It's more so probably like, what can her estate have,
Mhm.
moving forward that could continue to benefit her daughter, which it should. But like, everybody in LA is broke. Like, that's
They're
the
just pretending they have money.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the industry just doesn't pay what it used to. But anyway, speaking of places that are in need of money, residents in Gary, Indiana have now gone 2 weeks without power after a storm ravaged the area. Many communities in the area lost power during these storms, yet Gary has been the last place to have power restored. The mayor of Gary, Eddie Melton, has said that the lack of maintenance by the state is to blame for the slow restoration, and a slow response time with assistance has also made this much harder. We have a video we're going to play really quickly of some folks in
Challenge
Gary.
is getting fresh food. I have to literally drive all the way to Chicago because I don't trust any of the grocery stores around.
The lights being out so long. But I like to hear music and hear noises. So that's why I'm glad I bought this DVD player.
Northwest Indiana is kind of more of the urban area of the state of Indiana. The situation makes it feel like we're very rural.
Sometimes I get over anxious, because they keep giving us a date, but the dates are never confirmed to be true.
I think the biggest hurdle is just uncertainty.
Yeah. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've been watching the story
Yeah.
develop, and I, as somebody who you do a mean Trump impression. What
I'm getting my Nussie today. I got a silicone neck vagina made. Am I allowed to say that? I
Oh,
did.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And listen, don't say that the industry's dead, folks. Look at what's happening in
The industry is here.
yeah, exactly. But I think this is really interesting because Indiana is a red state. You live in a
Mhm.
state that, has been red, has been blue, etc. What effect do you think that this will actually have on the state of Indiana?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know what it'll have, how it'll affect Indiana, but I think that we have to do a lot better for the Black community. And I know that Abdul Al Sayed, because I went to Detroit, which is up in that area, but I went up to Detroit, and Abdul Al Sayed was recently, because in Detroit, there's like a huge um, kind of like there's a rift between the Arab and the Black community because of a lot of things that happen with there's a repair that needs to be done between those
Sure.
communities to trust each other. And I think there's a video of Dr. Syed saying it very perfectly, where he's like, we cannot repair all of these systems without acknowledging and repairing things for the Black community. And because all of this stuff is built on enslaved folks and racism and all this stuff. Like the whole system, that the reason why Gary is last is because of racism.
Right.
Like that's why there's stuff. That's why the infrastructure, blaming the infrastructure. Well, buddy, why is the infrastructure not up to code? Why isn't it up to code like the white neighborhoods are?
Right.
Because of racism.
Right.
And like that's where the Republicans do, like they depend, the Democrats depend on the Black vote and the people of color, but then they don't prioritize them when it comes to policy and to giving money and funding things. But like that's like with Puerto Rico also, we have a water crisis right now. We also have like really corrupt power grid situations over there. And so with all of these things, it's putting people of color and Black people last, but also wanting their money, their labor, their culture, and their votes. So I hope that this makes people see all of the stuff that the Republicans, and they just don't care about us.
And I was thinking like Trump is probably loving this in the sense that it's shifted the focus away from people talking about getting registered to vote, thinking about who they want for the midterms, et cetera. Like this actually, like when you're just trying to figure out like, hey, do I have to drive to Chicago today to get groceries? Like survival is on the line here. And you know, it's also happening in Memphis, which is a city that Trump has also gone after, you know, with the National Guard, but they are also experiencing electricity.
They also don't have power, yeah.
Yeah, and that happened from a storm that was over the weekend. And I had a couple of followers reach out to me and they were like, hey, like a lot of schools are not in session. They were not in session on Monday, all of the Memphis, Shelby County schools. And then today, even though they're like, oh no, we're back in session, they're like, but here's a huge list of all of the schools that are not back in session, right? And I just want to note that 70,000 children in Memphis rely on free lunch from the Memphis public school systems. So when these children don't have lunch at school, and like there's been, you know, it's one thing when it's the summer and there might be programs, or you might like in the back of your mind be like, okay, cool. Like, so these are the days that we have to provide. Like to do this to people is just inhumane. So anyway, we could be here all day talking about this. And I want to talk to you about it offline, because did you know that I'm a hurricane survivor from when I lived in St. Croix?
Which hurricane?
Hugo.
Oh, Mr. Hugo's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I lost my house.
I've been through. Oh, geez, Louise, that's crazy.
I know. And so like I saw firsthand the way that St. Croix and Puerto Rico, because then we went to Puerto Rico, are treated differently. Like if you like when people tell me like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Katrina is a whole other thing, but when people tell me like, oh well, like this hurricane was bad here, I'm like, you have no idea the way that St. Croix, Puerto Rico, all these places they are forgotten. Anyway, I'm gonna transition, but you and I will talk about this offline. We're so excited with us today. We have Dr. Annie Andrews. Dr. Andrews is a pediatrician and public health expert based in Charleston and a candidate for the United States Senate in South Carolina. We're so excited to have her here today. Hello, Dr. Andrews.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you. I don't know if you just heard, we were just wrapping up a conversation about, you know, what's happening in Gary, Indiana, and then also in Memphis, Tennessee. And just in, you know, like, what are your thoughts as a public health person when you are hearing these stories from these folks? Like, what are your concerns?
I mean, these are all policy choices. The system is what the system was designed to be. You know, here in South Carolina, certainly communities experience the devastating impacts of decades of systemic racism. Communities that have a lack of investment in infrastructure. There really are two different South Carolinas. You know, if either of you have spent any time in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where I live, or in Greenville, South Carolina, which is undergoing this huge renaissance, there's like so much investment in infrastructure and housing. I mean, not affordable housing, but housing and new restaurants. And then I travel throughout the state to these sort of forgotten counties, these rural counties that are predominantly Black, many of them, you know, loyally Democratic, but they're just forgotten. They never see their current senators. And, you know, these are choices that are being made at the State House in South Carolina, in my case, and in Washington, D.C. And that's why it's time to elect people who are not beholden to corporate interests, not beholden to, you know, billionaire donors, but beholden to people, so we can have policies that lift up everybody.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm actually going to go with question that I was like, oh, if we have time for this, we'll get to it. But I feel like, it's here. South Carolina is currently the fastest growing state in the country. Which is wild to me. And so, as that happens, and you've lived there for quite a while, can you talk a little bit about what is driving that growth? And like when we see growth like that, who's getting left behind? That's where my mind goes, because I'm just like, oh, great. Like, what is this? 64 data centers? Like, is that the growth that we're talking about? Like, who's
Not if I have anything to do with it.
Right.
Who's coming to South Carolina? Why are they coming? And who's being left behind?
Yeah, I mean, who's coming to South Carolina varies depending on where you are. So I live in the Low Country in Charleston. There's a lot of young professionals coming to Charleston. It's a great place to raise a family. The public schools, for the most part, are relatively strong. The beach is right there. The food is amazing. The shopping is amazing, all of that. So that's attracting sort of that demographic. Down the coast in Beaufort County, it's a lot of retirees, a lot of people who have come from places like Ohio, but also from the Northeast. And that's a mixed bag of, mostly retired people, politically not like any one place on the spectrum. It's Democrats and Republicans. Like I was saying, Greenville has experienced this major renaissance because BMW is in the upstate now. There's a Michelin plant in the upstate. So now there's a lot of new young families moving to Greenville, and they've very smartly designed sort of Greenville proper to keep up with that growth. And those are young professionals who've graduated from college and are looking for a place to settle down, and it's near the mountains, and it's property taxes are lower here. There's a lot of reasons to want to live in South Carolina. It is a beautiful state, but who it leaves behind are, the generations of families who've been in South Carolina forever. I took my 3 kids to the International African American Museum that's right there on the water in Charleston, where you are reminded about the vast majority of transatlantic slaves that came through the ports in Charleston. And so, that defines our history. That defines, these families who've been here under generational poverty and systemic racism for a long time, who live in these communities that have not had an equal investment, who have not had, new infrastructure put in, who have not been able to recruit big businesses like BMW and Michelin to come build their plants there. And as a result, the schools are not well funded because the tax base can't afford to fund the schools. There's no hospitals. I was in Lee County, South Carolina. They have 2 EMS trucks in the entire county. They have 1 physician in the entire county, and it's a guy that they pulled out of retirement just to see patients for a few years. And so it leaves behind traditionally Black South Carolinians who are stuck in these communities that see a lack of investment from the state level and the federal level.
I want to kick it to Lysandra because I feel like she is also in a red state, and so I think she has a different perspective than I do here in the liberal bubble that is California. But don't worry, we have MAGAs.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I've spent some time in Charleston. I have some shows there at the Wits End in Charleston and mid-September. Like I've spent time down here, and also my mom is a pediatrician. So my mom is a pediatrician, and she used to work for the health department. And so like I've seen how as like, and then she had her own practice, but I saw how insurance like would fail the children, and then the parents would have to, because she specialized in like treating like ADHD, like kids with learning disorders and whatnot. So she had to create her own practice that did like comprehensive training with a speech pathologist and occupational therapist. And that was kind of like my first job doing the files there, because the system was just failing children so much. So I really appreciate that you are coming to this from the unique perspective of having seen that failed system and seeing real people be affected by the failing of our policies that just leave people behind. And like with the South, I do see that I'd be interested in finding what you think of this, because I do think that in the South we do have a lot of people that do care. Like there's like a lot of people that have like that are good people that genuinely care, but I do think that like the mainstream discourse and like the rhetoric of it all does scare them, because they're not exposed to a lot of things that a lot of like what that I've been exposed to, like in LA or anything like that. Like they're just not exposed to things. So how do you speak to those people that may be a little on the fence, that genuinely have like good ethics and want to help people, but then they get scared by what Fox News or anything like that says, like this is communist? Like those are scary words. So how do you
There's
speak
kitty
to
litter
those
in the
people?
bathroom.
Right, because those are the fear mongering when it's repeated. Because I have people that like watch Fox News so much that it feels like a spell. So it
Mhm.
does become like a trance state that you can get into. So how do you talk to those people to try to get them to at least get grounded in reality?
Yeah, I mean, I think first to your earlier point about the system failing kids, like kids don't have inherent political power. So it's incumbent on those of us who care about kids to build political power for them, to elect people who will put kids first. That's really my entire mission. Obviously, I'm going to put South Carolina first, but I know that when we put kids first, that benefits families. And what's good for families is good for communities. What's good for communities is good for our economy. So I would be the first ever pediatrician senator. And I can't think of a more important time to elect a pediatrician to the US Senate than in this era where Medicaid is about to be gutted, where RFK Jr. is leading HHS. We just had a measles outbreak in the upstate of South Carolina. So kids need a voice in the US Senate, and I'm so eager to be that voice. But you're right, I'm campaigning in a state that voted for Trump by 18 points. Interestingly, we have a poll that shows me down just a single digit, down 1 point on either of my potential Republican opponents. And that's because a lot of Republicans in South Carolina are really tired of the current iteration of their Republican Party. Yes, there are people who are in a Fox News trance, and I'm never going to get them probably to come and vote for me on November 3rd. But what I can do is I can win, and then I can fight for them in Washington, D.C. I can deliver results, and then I can come back here and say, about your lower utility bill. Well, I had something to do with that because I care about you and I'm fighting for you. But the vast majority of Republicans right now here in the state of South Carolina aren't happy with how Trump is doing. They don't identify with this current iteration of the Republican Party. And so I'm really focused on talking to the moderate Republicans, the center-right Republicans, and the independents who really want to see their old party back. And frankly, this country needs to have two healthy political parties if we're ever going to make any progress, solve any problems. And so what I tell those center-right Republicans is vote for me this one time on November 3rd. It doesn't make you a Democrat. I'm not asking you to sign in blood that you're a Democrat. What you're doing by voting for me is telling your party you're not happy with where they are now. And Republicans will self-correct. If we win decisively, if this big blue wave, as predicted, comes crashing up on the shores, including South Carolina, then Republicans are going to excommunicate the far extreme members of their party. They're going to pivot back to the center because they want to win elections. And so the fastest way to get a healthy Republican Party back is to vote for Democrats on November 3rd. That messaging really seems to be breaking through because our polling suggests I'm overperforming a generic Democrat by like 25 points with those center-right Republicans and 19 points with independents. And that's how we're making the math work. And that's how we're going to deliver a surprise victory on November 3rd here in South Carolina.
Also,
Well-
what's more family first than voting for a pediatrician?
Right? Exactly.
Yes. And
Are you family
actually,
first or not? Because I'm confused.
Right.
I was looking it up.
That's
and
how I'm going to
there
gaslight
are
them.
currently 4 other medical doctors in the Senate, and they're all male and they're all Republican, including my pal, Dr. Bill Cassidy, who I think is the biggest phony in the entire world. But he and I can talk about that later because he's not going to be in office anymore. So as a pediatrician, I think you have a really unique understanding of some of the biggest headlines that are circulating right now, including the new gold standard childhood vaccine, which was something that was released as an executive order earlier this month. It calls for fewer vaccinations and also the splitting of the MMR vaccine, which I was reading the details on that. Feels like a lot of work, which is something that the Republicans don't always love. So first of all, what are your thoughts on these changes? And also, like, as a very vaccinated child of the 90s, I'm kind of confused as to how this became such a hot button issue. And so I'd love to hear from someone who's probably talked with like thousands of parents about vaccines. What do you think of the changes? How did we get here?
Yes, I sure have talked to thousands of parents about this over my 20-year career. The day RFK Jr. was nominated to lead HHS was the day I really seriously started considering getting in this race because I understood the urgency of the moment. This is like worst case scenario for practicing pediatricians all across the country. The way we got here is because people like RFK Jr., who, he particularly is nothing more than a grifter and a conspiracy theorist who's been peddling an anti-vaccine conspiracy theories for decades while simultaneously enriching himself. He's infiltrated where we consume media, where worried parents consume content, social media spaces. And as a result, over the past couple of decades, rates of vaccine hesitancy and vaccine refusal continue to climb up and up and up to the point now that we've slipped below the herd immunity threshold that we need to protect communities against outbreaks of diseases like the measles. And so it's deeply frustrating to me. Trump's executive order was not based on some evolution of science, some new evidence-based research. It was based on political ideology. So we cannot split up the MMR because there is not currently a licensed measles vaccine, mumps vaccine, and rubella vaccine individually in the United States of America. Also, there's no scientific or safety reason to split it up. The MMR has not been linked to autism. The MMR vaccine does not cause autism. He also recommended splitting up all vaccines so that you go to the doctor and you get one shot at a time. Literally, no one has time for that. Our system could not sustain that. We already have a pediatric workforce crisis. And so to see this level of disinformation coming from the highest levels of our federal government, literally from the Oval Office, is why it is so urgent that we elect me and we elect other doctors up and down the ballot in November so that we can get thinking people back in the rooms where these decisions are made so that we can make policy that's actually based on science and evidence-based studies.
I mean, listen, this to me is just, and I've said this before about Trump, he just wants to give everyone more errands. Because, like, if you think about it,
Right.
like, if you're a parent and you're like, oh, great, now I got to do the vaccines one at a time. And you're like, I got to get the babysitter. I got to take off from work. I got to, like, what is the mental load of, 11 different appointments now? That is insane. I don't have the gas money for that.
And then
Like, I'm not gonna have
putting
kids
the
'cause, like-
baby through more appointments
Right.
and more shots is actually insane.
It is because you've seen them do it where they do like double thighs, both thighs at at the time, and then and then they cry for a few minutes and then it's over. But instead,
Yeah.
Trump will have you come to the doctor's office, every week for another shot. Literally, you cannot take that time off of work. Doctors' offices cannot deal with that increased volume, and there's no scientific reason to do it. And the reason we give so many vaccines in the first few visits, 2 month, 4 month, and 6 months are those critical visits for the routine childhood immunization schedule, because infants are most vulnerable the younger they are. Their immune systems are not up to snuff yet. They cannot fight back against these preventable infectious diseases. So that's why we have to protect them early. So even if you were to delay the vaccines, you're going to risk your child getting one of these preventable infectious diseases because you waited too long. And it's not just measles, it's not just RSV and the flu. It's like bacterial meningitis, which is when you have pus around your spinal cord and in your brain, and that can cause permanent neurologic devastation. It can cause death. It can cause hearing loss. It can cause seizures. These are very serious illnesses that we do not need to be welcoming back in the year 2026.
Well, there's a lot to think about for you as the next couple of months happen, but there's also an election happening today, which you are not on the ballot for that one technically. But I do want to ask you, I was reading that Trump rejected South Carolina rejected Trump's initial pick for governor. They also rejected a Trump-backed map for redistricting. So I guess my question is, has Trump fully lost the pulse of South Carolina, and has he even furthered that by, doing this huge endorsement and making some of his biggest donations to Darlene with an I, Graham?
Darlene with an I, and on her signs, there's actually a star that dots the I instead of a regular dot. Isn't that just so precious?
Wait, did you know that she actually it was with an E, but Lindsay
Yeah.
made her change it?
Is that true?
That's
As-
my favorite
as
piece of
kids.
this lore. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Oh
like,
my.
Dr. Andrews is gonna have to get that fact checked because her team's probably like, don't comment. But from what I've been told, actually though, that's some great peak closeted brother behavior to be like, Darlene, why don't you change that to an I?
No.
But what do you think of that? Has he lost the pulse of South Carolina?
I mean, I think he's lost the pulse of the country. And
Yeah.
it's not because like we've all had some moral awakening. It's because the economy is terrible right now. So people were sold a plan, and the plan, he's done the exact opposite. He said, I'm going to lower grocery prices, no new foreign wars. And he's not done anything about grocery prices. We're in a new endless war. So, it's not some big awakening that the country is happening. They're just really struggling to put food on the table and keep the lights on and pay for their prescription drugs. So I certainly think he's sort of lost some of his riz here in South Carolina. And I think if Darlene does not win tonight, and people are asking me what I think is going to happen, and I truly don't know. Millions and millions and millions of dollars have been spent to prop up Darlene's campaign. So Ralph Norman has been outspent by like an incredible ratio. So I'll be surprised if she doesn't win. If she doesn't win, all the media is going to be talking about for the next several weeks is that Trump is done, that like he could not prop up Darlene in this race. And so he's done. His endorsement means nothing. He's lost all his power. But really what the story needs to be, from my perspective, is both of these are Republicans who will provide no checks and balances over the current, executive branch of our federal government. They don't have any plan to lower gas prices, grocery prices, fix our healthcare system, lower prescription drug prices. So to me, it doesn't really matter which one of them emerges, but I think it will be an interesting sort of pulse check on Donald Trump's influence within the party, even in a real deep red state that voted for him by 18 points.
It's also hard to get a pulse with little hands.
It is.
Got little hands.
Well, Dr. Andrews, we are so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be watching this evening's race, and we'll be watching as things continue on to November.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank
Yay,
you.
thank you.
Damn.
She's great.
She's the best.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So interesting.
I just think we
Wow.
need to get smart people that have life experience into these positions. And that's
Right.
what, like, Dr. Andrews and Dr. Al-Sayed, like, yes, we need them in the Senate, especially now that we have to reform all this medical stuff.
I know.
Crazy
And
to read.
and it's funny because we had Senator Ed Markey on I don't know, a week and a half ago, and one of the things we talked about was my pal, Dr. Bill Cassidy. I know he's a big watcher of the show. And the thing that's so interesting is like pre-Trump, he was actually doing like great stuff as a medical doctor, and especially around private equity and hospitals. But then when Trump comes in, they're all so scared of making him upset that they completely forget that they have taken this medical oath, and they have
Oath.
all this training, and it just sucks out of their brain. And so I think it is so important to have these people who have this expertise. Like the stuff that she was telling us about the vaccine stuff is so wild to me.
It's easy to have a big opinion when you're dumb.
Ain't that
Like-
isn't that in effect like the Dunning that's
Yeah.
like
The less
you
information you
know-
have, the more bold you are with
Yeah.
your statements.
Yes.
In all aspects of life. You can have one kernel of what you think is the truth and be like, that's it, that's the story, and I'm gonna go with it. Okay.
And that's okay when you're like me and you're 8 and you're making up stories about your second grade teacher's divorce. But long term, that's not the way to go. Like you can't keep just making things up along the way because they suit your narrative.
Yeah, it's so concerning, but we just need smart people again, Elizabeth Booker Houston. She's like the
Mhm.
smartest person
Yeah,
we all know.
she's an attorney, right?
Yeah, she's
Or
an attorney, and
yeah.
she's she's worked in public health. Like she's just her brain is amazing, and she's
Yeah.
the best. And so anytime that's a shout out for her. If anybody wants to know a lot about that stuff, Elizabeth Booker Houston, Booker Squared, she's like an encyclopedia of this because she's worked in the system. We just need people that have actual lived experience of working with these departments that can actually do their job.
Right.
And actually fight for people, and not these Darlenes.
Well,
of
you
them
know what's so
all.
interesting? I was kind of shocked when Darlene was appointed too. I was like, oh, so if I can't be on the moment, can my dad just come do it? It's
Right.
So, can you know what? Could you go be a pediatrician for the day?
Yes, actually, I will go and take over my mother's patients.
Can you you imagine? Like,
Yes.
I just think it's wild. It's one thing if you're like, well, we've always run the family carpet business and now my
Mhm.
sis is taking the reins.
Yes.
But like to be like, oh no, you can just make her a senator. I'm like, that's insane.
That's insane.
That's actually the kind of job that I think I was meant to have though. Like I want to inherit like a high powered job
Well, I
via
think
that.
a personality hire is always the dream job, but I think this one's a little important.
Fair enough.
Like,
We
and
always
also, arguably, she doesn't have a good personality. And I know Lindsay's looking up at us right now, being like, "My sister's the best," but it's not. It's
I
not
know
really
Lindsay
giving.
actually had like a better, and like you guys don't get mad at me, but like one of Lindsay's last things was that he was dressed business casual at Disneyland, like looking so dejected, holding a Little Mermaid wand. And like that is fun for me. Like
And that's how we want to remember him.
yes. So we end every show and we ask each other what's having a moment for us. And so I'd
Oh my
love to
God.
know what's having a moment for you right now, today, this week, in life, whatever.
What's having a moment for me right now? Let me see. Well, my nighttime routine. I'm really trying to have better sleep hygiene.
Love this for
So I got myself a Kindle.
Mhm.
Sorry that it's Amazon, but it was the most affordable and it is what it is. But I'm reading Yesteryear right now, which
Oh,
is
I
I'm
just
trying
read
to
that.
yeah, so I'm trying to read more and trying to like shut my brain down from like media. So I'm like screens off at a certain time. And so what's having a moment for me is my sleep hygiene. I wrap my hair in these like silk rods so then I don't have to do my hair in the morning. It just makes everything
Oh my
better. I
God,
do
you're
like
like
the
one of
red
those
light mask.
sorority girls, like the girls
Yes.
who like I stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning watching like, hey guys, welcome to Pref Day.
It's hard because I want to be doing that, but like I'm really trying to train. I'm like trying to shut my brain down because I wake up mornings and I'm like still a little tired, more tired than I should be. And so what's having a moment is me really trying to focus on my sleep hygiene.
I love
What's
that for
having a
you.
moment for you, Diva?
You know what's having a moment for me is not having COVID anymore.
And I
I
love
feel
that.
like getting COVID in 2026. I was like, this is like when the thing came back positive, I was like, no, this is impossible. It's like, and it was an expired test, so I was like, oh no, this can't be right. And then I got another one, and I was like, oh, okay. But I just want to say, like, and I am not one of those people who's been like, COVID's over. Like, no, COVID is still a thing. And I just want to say, I know you have some travel coming up. I have other friends who have end of summer travel coming up. I cannot stress this enough. No one ever wants COVID. You do not want this strain of COVID, you guys. Okay, I am just telling you.
Yeah.
People are like, Meredith, you look so skinny. Yeah, it's from the COVID and the GLP-1, but it's also from the COVID. But it's also from the COVID, and you don't want this. And just mask up if you're traveling, be safe, do all
Yeah.
the things, because it is hard to be down and out. And I would also say, like, remember before when you would get COVID and people would be like, oh my God, like stay home, it's fine, whatever. It's not like that anymore. So like it's really hard to kind of unplug fully. I'm so lucky that I work for myself and I was able to, but you guys just stay healthy.
I fully believe that you should mask on airplanes, not just for health reasons, but so people don't talk to you.
Oh my God, I know.
I love that. And also when you fall asleep, you're not doing this.
Oh, I know.
You're doing that, but like in private.
That's one of the reasons I don't fall asleep, because I'm like, I'm afraid I'm going to be like on top of somebody and I need to be
Right.
better. I'm just like, wear your mask, just, because you don't want it. I'm just telling you guys, you don't fucking want it. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you remind our friends where they can find you?
Hello, friends. Thank you for having me, Meredith and team. You can find me on the internet, mostly. Lysandra V Comedy is where my handles are. I post sketches or funny things pretty much every day.
Oh my God. You are so good about posting stuff too. Like you make me want to be a better creator.
I'm an insane person, but yeah, so I have this all my crosses from my Caroline sketches, RIP, as my wall art. And I think what helps, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but for me as as comedy goes, like all of that's how I process things. So processing the madness through comedy,
Yeah.
and the way that we have so much to
It's
work
a rich
with,
text. Like, we can't argue that it's not a rich text.
it is something. So it helps me process the madness so then I don't like hold it in. Cause I think if we don't communicate, if we're not expressing ourselves in whatever way we can, some people go to the gym. Some people do this. I put on a wig
I love that for you.
and then talk a lot of
Thank
shit
you
that way.
so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank
We
you for
will be
having
back.
me.
Oh my God, it's so fun. We will be back on Friday. Rebecca will be back. Dr. Sarah Orrick will be with us. She will be back as well. And of course, me. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guest, Dr. Danny Andrews.
Bye.